Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Bluebeam Revu, diving into the details. All right, just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question box in your GoToWebinar control panel, not in the chat panel. Also, a recorded version of this webinar will be available on our website and YouTube channel within a couple days. You'll receive an email with the link when it's available. Before we jump into the webinar, I want to introduce Microdesk to you all. Microdesk was founded in 1994 as an Autodesk reseller with a simple mission: to assist architecture, engineering, construction owners, and GIS firms with improving workflows and integrating project delivery technologies. 25 years later, and that mission still holds true. Microdesk is a well-established AECO consulting firm with 13 offices in the US and UK. We have over 230 AECO consultants, solution specialists, and software developers that can help in all sectors, all disciplines, and all stages. Some of the hottest topics in the AECO world are globalization, urbanization, and sustainability. Urbanization studies suggest that the US will build 114 cities the size of Boston in the next 30 years. Here at Microdesk, we can help make sure that you are prepared to meet these demands. We use software from industry leaders and combine it with our vision and passion for sustainability to meet the demands of urbanization. Our team of industry expert consultants are redefining project delivery and asset management. We're committed to helping clients realize the business benefits of BIM quickly and economically by facilitating the use of innovative technologies and processes. Whether it's streamlining your design, construction, or operations, our consulting team is the nation's largest and most experienced group of AECO technology consulting professionals. Microdesk clients represent some of the nation's largest and most respected organizations and public agencies, including the Port Authority in New York and New Jersey, Denver Airport, Robert A.M. Stern, and Columbia University, amongst many others. To help support the industry with the demands of urbanization, we provide full service consulting. This includes building information modeling services, enterprise strategy and workflow assessments, technology management, mentoring and support, application development, and so much more. We partner with world leaders such as Autodesk and IBM to utilize innovative technologies and methodologies to empower sustainable design and overcome local challenges. Our vision is to reduce the environmental impact of urbanization by helping the AECO industry design, construct, and operate better projects more efficiently by leveraging the full potential of BIM, VDC, and asset management. My name is Mike Gonzalez. I've been with Microdesk for 8 years, well, close to 8 years, and I've had 8 years of industry experience, mostly municipal civil engineering, township engineering, county, that sort of thing. Graduated from Rutgers University with BS in Civil Engineering, and I'm well-versed in Civil 3D, InfoWorks, Bluebeam, AutoCAD, a few other things, Navisworks, things like that, and I'm also certified, right? So today's webinar will cover the topics of kind of organizing details in your PDF documents. All right, so we're going to go over child bookmarks, we're going to go over places, using the visual search, and then we're going to highlight some snapshots via color processing, and that's going to help us organize our details a little bit better. All right, so let's dive in. So how we kind of organize a PDF, right? The first thing you want to do is probably you want to add bookmarks, right? So, because that way you don't have to kind of guess what you're looking at or what page things are on, right? So, Bluebeam has a very handy thing regarding bookmarks. So that's over here in the little bookmark icon here, right? I'm going to choose to create bookmarks. All right, and what I could do is I could either use the page labels if they're already made, or I can use this thing called the page region, right? So I'm going to go ahead and use this because this is kind of auto mark my bookmarks by finding on each page, on each sheet of my document, right? Or I could change my page range to whatever I want. What it's going to do is it's going to look for what I'm determining. So if everything's kind of in the same title block, it should be similar, right? So I'm just going to choose here, select, right? And I'm going to start it with the drawing number down here. And this is where you can kind of further classify it. So you can see a little preview here. And then I'll add another portion. Right, and then you can see a little preview right there. So I'm just going to do that for all the different pages real quick. And that's going to create a bookmark so we can navigate to each page individually, which is great. But as you can see here, right, it doesn't, so there's further delineation we can do within here, right? So we can see that these are detail sheets just full of other details, right? So, you know, telling you typical details doesn't really help you much, right? If you can't exactly find the one you're looking for, right? So, so an example I'd like to go through is just kind of this. I'm going to go to this A700. This is like building section, right? And it's not necessarily a detail, but it's an elevation view. So all right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to create what's called a child bookmark, okay? And just to do that, it's very easy to do. You just right-click on top of the bookmarks you already created, right? And you can add a bookmark, right, before it, after it, or a child bookmark. That's kind of a sub bookmark of that particular page. So I'm going to add a child just by right-clicking on my bookmark, right? And this one is going to be section, okay? And this has no definition to it quite yet, but what I can do, right, is again by right-clicking on it, right, I can apply an action to it. And an action is essentially what you're going to be using for your hyperlinks and all kinds of different things, right? So actions are very important in Bluebeam. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and apply an action to this bookmark, right? So what this one's doing, right, is that it's actually jumping to, that's the action being created by when you create a bookmark. It's jumping to this particular page and it's fitting the page to your screen, right? That's the action that's taking place. So any bookmark can contain any action actually, right? So it's really just a, you know, hey, for this particular thing, what are you doing, right? So for this child bookmark, right, which is just kind of organized underneath the main bookmark, what I want to do is I want to apply an action, right? And I want to do a snapshot view. Now I can get the rectangle that just shows this. Oh, maybe we'll do it again. Those. Right, so I get that rectangle and it knows on what page it is, you know, exactly where on the page it is and how big it is. Right? So I can click OK. Right, and then, you know, I can click around and then I can go right here and it goes directly to my view, right? Directly to the detail or elevation view, whatever you're trying to get to, right? So it's very, very easy to create these, super quick, right? And it's just a handy way to set up your PDF. It takes like very little time to do, and it just makes it so much easier to navigate, especially with someone that's never opened it before, right? So again, I can just add a child bookmark, right? And then I can go right here and just add an action to it, snapshot view, get this rectangle. Right. And, you know, if you wanted to do something else, I mean, you could totally do that. And, you know, you can make that action actually open up spec sheet or something like that, if that's what you wanted it to do as well. But right, so that could open up another PDF if you wanted it to, something like that. But I just kind of want to go over this workflow because I think organizing it this way makes it kind of foolproof for a lot of people. Right, so just when you open it up, okay. So is there a difference between a snapshot view and a saved place besides? Now, actually, yes. So there's a couple of neat things you can do with a place, which is actually the thing I was going to do next. Okay, so a saved place is a very handy thing, and that's actually the very next thing I was about to do. So that's great that you asked that question, Rebecca. So let's say, for example, we go back to our section to the grand stair, right? So this is the next thing I want to go over. Is that, so first you can, by all means, I would recommend creating all these bookmarks and child bookmarks so that it's easy to yeah, you can copy and paste the text from the PDF, sure, right? But that's only true if it's a vector PDF, Todd. If it's a scanned, if it's a raster PDF, you wouldn't be able to do that because it wouldn't be selectable text, right? So just one little point of contention with your question, that instead of typing the secondary info for the snapshot view, you can just copy and paste the text from the PDF. Very true normally, right? But if it's from a scanned PDF, you wouldn't be able to do that. Okay, someone's asking, how do you create a summary on front page with links and snapshot? That's actually creating hyperlinks, just generally, that's just hyperlinks. So we could get into that, but let me just go ahead and do this places thing that I've been meaning to do, because that's kind of the focus of the webinar here, right? So let me go ahead and do, let me go back to here, right? And I'm gonna go to my links. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create what's called a place, okay? And again, it's just this elevation view. I just like this. I just like it, right? So I'm going to create a place, and I'm going to use a snapshot view, which is just, again, you create the little rectangle that you want, or you can use a current view if you wanted, or just jump to a particular page, right? And how you want it, right? So this is what this is going to do, is just create what's called a place, okay? So it's a bit more than just a hyperlink. Okay, so this is a place, and this jumps to here. But what this is going to do is that it's going to allow you to create what's called a hyperlink, right? So well, a hyperlink to the place, right? So for example, if I go to this page, right, I know that it's section 1, right? So this is, elevation view 1, section detail 1 of page A700. So I can do this a couple of different ways. I can go through my different documents, right? And that can be like my document, and I can just manually do this, right? And I can hit in places within my links panel, I can hit this little guy right here, all right? And that's gonna allow me to create a box. And I can just do that, okay? And so you can see here, it creates a hyperlink, right? So now this is selectable, and it'll take me right to this place, right? So the place is different than creating a snapshot view in that it's a kind of a template for a hyperlink, okay? So again, go back to here. And if I click on this now, it's now a hyperlink that takes me directly to that snapshot view, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and delete this, right? Delete this real quick. And what I wanna do actually is I want to automate the process of going through and finding all of these, because, we're human, right? We might miss it. So what I can do is I can actually use my visual search tool. My visual search tool is super handy. Okay, and what it's going to do is I can make it search. So there's two types. When you go click on the search, there's the text search, which allows you to just search for text, obviously, which is a handy thing that you can do, right? Or you can do a visual search. So it's really good for, looking for symbols or, so if I want to look at all the toilets or whatever, right? So you can do that. But I want to find all the symbols that have section 1, right, on page A700, right? And the neat thing about getting the visual search is that you can see the kind of direction the arrows pointing for the section detail callout. It doesn't matter that it's pointing to the right. It can point down, it can point left, right? It'll find it because Bluebeam's smart like that. So let me go ahead and get the rectangle here. Okay. And I do this, I can actually search in my current document, or interestingly enough, I can actually search an entire folder, right? So if you have a bunch of separate documents, right, you can kind of search all those different documents and then be able to place that link on all those separate documents, not just what's in the current document, okay? So it's a very powerful tool and it allows you to do a lot of neat things, all right? So I love the visual search. So if I choose visual search, and I'm gonna choose for the current document, so this is 35 pages long, and I'm gonna choose search. And there's a couple different things. You can filter by color, search markups as well, a bunch of different things. How sensitive is it, right? Right, but I'm gonna go ahead and search the current document just with the default. And it's gonna go. It might take a little bit of time because it is doing something interesting, right? So I found it on page A201, 202, right? A bunch of different places. It's still going. Right, so the visual search is finding all these different section callouts, right? And then we can get to a couple that, ooh, maybe that's not right, right? So, but it's finding a bunch of them, right? So it's finding these, right? So as opposed to us going through here manually and trying to find them all, this is just a nice little shortcut, right? That allows us to do that, right? So we already have plenty in here. We can keep it going, but it might, for the sake of brevity, I'm just gonna hit cancel here, right? But see how many it's finding, right? All these different callouts for that one elevation view, right? So I'm gonna hit cancel here just so we don't get bogged down. And so it found a bunch of them, right? And I'm just gonna go ahead and deselect the ones that aren't correct because nothing's perfect, but okay. So within my visual search, right, within my search tool, I've checked on the ones I want something done to, right? And so it kind of selects them and allows me to do multiple different things, okay? So I can clear the search results, right? I can replace them with something else. Or I can apply an action, okay? So when I choose hyperlink the checked, I can jump to a place, right? So it's going to ask me to, if I want to check them all on, I can hyperlink them all, right? Using that simple pull down right there, right? And I apply an action to them. And what I want them to do is I want them to provide a hyperlink to this specific place, right? Now you could do the same thing if you went to get rectangle, but then you have to navigate to the thing as well. It's just a nice handy way to just make it, right? And then you have a bunch of different options. Or you can go ahead and create a place, right? If that's what you wanted to do. I just did it first. Right? So you apply the place, click OK. And so now all of these are now hyperlinked. That's not hyperlinked, right? Because I unchecked it. And see, even this one that's backwards, right? It's going left. Right? It finds it and it allows me to get directly back to the view that I want, right? So it's kind of a different ways of getting to the same thing, but it's very it's just kind of a this is kind of hyperlinking your section callouts. Is the search folder for studio folders only or local folders? Oh, you can do it for local folders. Yeah, 100%. So if you do search folder, that's when you get an option here to browse to what folder you want it to do. So it could be on a network, it could be on your local, C drive, whatever. So just an entire project folder, if you had a whole spec page or something like that, right? So all kinds of stuff. So it's very versatile, right? All open documents, recent documents, the current document, the current page only, right? So gives you quite a few options there on what you want to search. Okay. So using the visual search, I think, is a huge boon to anything you try to do. By all means, be creative with it, right? Because you can actually, if you're doing other things, you can mark for redaction, you can apply count measurements, you can highlight stuff, right? If that's all you just want to do, you just want to highlight it, right? So tons of options here, right? Right, so let's go ahead and find this guy right here. Right. Well, actually, let's go to our detail sheet here. Okay. So, you could be doing a bunch of different things, and just a kind of a handy thing I want to show you guys. Maybe you'll use it, maybe not, but if you wanted to kind of distinguish one thing from another, just a handy little kind of shortcut. I'd call it sort of a shortcut. Is that one thing that you could do is that if, let's say, you wanted to distinguish one thing from another, right? So typical, control this construction joint, is if I made a quick snapshot of this guy, right? And let's pasted it right over here. Right, somewhere else, just right next to it, right? If you were getting this from one drawing to another or something like that, right? Just something that you can do with snapshots that I think a lot of people don't know is that, especially if you get from other drawings that you want to bring into your current, from other PDFs that you want to bring into your current PDFs, just making a snapshot, you can paste it right in, is that you can, if you right click on the snapshot, it's so cool that you can just change colors, right? So we go from black and maybe we want it to be red, right? And so just being able to do that, you can bring things from other files and bring them in nice and easily, and then you can kind of distinguish them, right? So if there was like a revision or something, or or someone sent you something that you want, it's just a really cool thing that you can process just the snapshot. And if it was like not a vector, if it was like a image sort of thing, you can actually just kind of copy over it. But yeah, so just by changing the color, of it. You could do a lot of different things. I just think it's really neat that when you have a snapshot, you can change the color just by right-clicking and changing colors, because it allows you to kind of allow more specificity in what you're trying to do, right? So, yeah, especially if you're aggregating things from a variety of PDFs into one other PDF, it's a really handy tool to be able to just kind of change what you want people to see, right? Because otherwise, color processing doesn't really do anything like aside from the full page. So the only way to kind of do that is with snapshots otherwise, right? So I just think it's a handy thing to be able to do, is to be able to take a snapshot of something. And I think details is a great way to go through that. You know, especially if you just, again, you have spec sheets or something like that, detail sheets that are just separate, you know, and you want to bring them into your current PDF, but you want to distinguish them as being other, right? So you can just kind of take a snapshot of them, paste them into your current PDF, change the color, right? Because yeah, there's no real good way to process the colors of individual kind of parts of your PDF content, right? Right, because you can edit the text, you can kind of cut stuff, right? You can, yeah, things like that. But you know, so if you wanted to just kind of change the color of a particular thing, you can just take a snapshot of it, right? Change the color of it, and then if I wanted to, I can cut this. Just the one thing, right, and replace it with this. Just the one thing that you might want to consider, right? In regards to if I take a snapshot of something and I just want it to be red where everything else is black on this page, right? I could cut the content here, erase this content and just replace it with this. The only thing is that just kind of keep in mind that when you do that, this, right, because this is a vector, right, so you can snap to it, right, and this is text that you can select. That's no longer true when it's a snapshot. Oh, actually, nice. Yeah, so you can do that. Oh, okay, that worked out nicely, I thought. Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't seem to be the case for the text though within there, but it is allowing me to snap to the actual vector content here. So that's actually very cool. So that kind of allows you a little bit of leeway here to, you know, if I wanted to just erase that and just replaced it with this, it's colored now, right? So it just something handy in case you wanted to highlight something on your page, right? You can just make it a snapshot and change it. Yes, anyone that signed up, you know, for it will get a link to this webinar, right? So, yeah, those are the topics I wanted to cover. Just kind of how you can kind of hone in on your details a little bit, organize it, right? Either through hyperlinks or through adding actions via your bookmarks, which is really a sort of hyperlink, because a hyperlink is really just an action of some kind, right, performed on either something on the page where you can click on it or via the bookmarks, right? So, and yeah, and then this highlighting situation, I just think it's a really cool idea if you just want to focus on something, just to make it be different from something else, right? So, yeah, you'll be provided a link of the recording. And yeah, and I hope this was helpful for anyone. If there's any more other questions, type them into the chat. Otherwise, that's kind of all I wanted to go over. And again, I apologize about the audio earlier. All right, cool. Doesn't seem like we have any questions. So yeah, I just wanted to show you guys maybe something you hadn't seen before or weren't aware. Right. So the pull down for the snapshot. Pull down for the snapshot. So so you're talking about in places. Oh, when we search for it. Oh, okay. So when we search for it, is that what you're talking about? So when you do the visual search, right? Um, yeah. So we do the visual search, right? So we'll just have to let it. Right. So just for example, there it is, right? So you would highlight it, right? When it does all the searches, you would highlight it, and then in search panel, right down here, then you can do the little pull down here and choose your action for what you want to happen to what's selected in the search, right? In this case would be choosing to hyperlink what was selected, right? And that's when we can choose our snapshot view or our place, right? Does that answer your question, Laura? Can Bluebeam notify someone when a reviewer completes their review? That would be more when you're doing a session, Kevin. So there's lots of different options for that, you know. So, but this is just a PDF that's saved, right? Yeah, but that's totally something that would be available when you create a session or a project, notifying people. Yeah, you can shoot us an email. Yeah, no problem. Shoot us an email and we can go over it. All right. Okay. All right. I will send you my email address. Okay. All right, guys. Yeah, I guess that's it. So everyone take care. You will be receiving a link to the recording, and yeah, have a good night.